Whether it be AirPods or iPhone 12, Apple is a brand we all love. So here are 10 fun facts about the founder of Apple, Steve Jobs. There aren't that many things in the world that are universal, but one of them is Apple. And no, I'm not talking about the fruit. Even if you're an Android fan, you've seen an Apple product at some point in your life and wanted to have it. Apple is great and all, but it wouldn't have been here for us to make memes out of if it wasn't for Steve Jobs. So if you want to know some crazy facts about him, make sure to stay until the end of the video because the last few are pretty shocking. And if you like more of these videos, make sure to subscribe and tell me in the comments so that I can thank you personally. Alright, let's get started. Number 1. Steve Jobs was a college dropout. Jobs graduated from Homestead High School in Silicon Valley and went on to Reed College, but he didn't stay there for the full 4 years, as you might have thought before. Some people think he dropped out to save money for his parents, but this is one of those topics which there's conspiracies about. Some think he was an essentialist, which is basically the practice that enhanced the power of his focus. He focused his attention on the things he needed and didn't spend any time on secondary things. The conspiracy is that he left college after learning the things he thought were useful. There's also some good things that came out of him dropping out of school. In his 2005 speech for Stanford University, Jobs said that if he didn't drop out of class, the Mac wouldn't have had multiple typefaces or space fonts. I don't know the reason behind this, but there's probably a reason. So you pretty much have Steve Jobs to thank for the different fonts which you have while you're typing. Number 2. Jobs had a 2.6 GPA while having an IQ of 160. When you die as a billionaire who created one of the biggest companies in modern history, people usually assume that you are pretty smart. And one of the things that we often associate with how smart you are is your school grades. But Jobs wasn't exactly on top of his class. He had a pretty low GPA, just 2.6, meaning he got mostly C's and B's. He wasn't exactly a bad student, but he also wasn't the type of person you expect to build a multi-billion-dollar company. Steve explained that he never enjoyed school structure and preferred to learn in unconventional ways, which might just be the thing which set him apart from everyone else. Number 3. Steve Jobs was a Zen Buddhist. In 1974, after working with electronics and video game company Atari, Jobs decided to travel to India in search for spiritual enlightenment. He went to religious festivals attended by 10 million other people. He wore flowing cotton robes, ate strange food, and had his head shaved by a mysterious guru. But the monk's way of life wasn't made for Jobs. He was obviously too hungry, too driven, too ambitious for that kind of life. Steve Jobs came back to America a changed man, with a wider vision and greater spiritual connection. After his return, he meditated often and ended up becoming a pescatarian, a person who only eats vegetables and seafood. Number 4. Steve Jobs was friends with Bill Clinton. Being the owner of one of the biggest companies in the world made it pretty easy for Jobs to have connections with famous people, and one of the more crazy ones was his friendship with Bill Clinton, the president of the US at the time. Their friendship was quite strong and they used to meet a lot. There's a conspiracy theory around this, and that is that Jobs helped Clinton with some of the decisions he made during his presidency, which is kinda messed up considering how Jobs had no experience in politics. Another fun fact is that Bill Clinton was one of the first people to get the very first iPhone ever. So now you know some hidden benefits to being the president. Number 5. Steve Jobs was adopted. Something which is really crazy about Steve Jobs was that he was adopted. His biological father grew up in Syria and met his biological mother at the University of Wisconsin at US. And at the age of 23, they ended up having Steve. But due to the fact that they were too young to marry and raise a child, they gave their baby to Steve's adoptive parents, and they raised him on the promise that he would go to college. Jobs wasn't exactly okay with this, and being put up for adoption was one of the things which led him to create an extraordinary persona for himself. In a way, you could say he was his own creation. If you've watched until this point, don't you think you should subscribe to this channel so that you can get more videos like this? It's free, and down the road, if you decide you don't like me, it's just as easy to unsubscribe. Make sure to keep watching because the facts are going to get more surprising as we go on. Alright, back to the video. Number 6. Steve Jobs denied being the father of his daughter. You might be thinking that being put up for adoption as a child would make you be really supporting of your own children, but it wasn't like that for Steve Jobs. He had a child with his high school sweetheart when the pair were in their early 20s, and a few years later, when he was worth hundreds of millions, the mother of his child started suing him for child support. Jobs had a child when he was 23, whose paternity he denied for years. The denial eventually led to a legal battle where a DNA test proved he was indeed the father. Fortunately, Steve was able to repair his relationship with his daughter before he died. Number 7. Steve Jobs is buried in an unmarked grave. You probably know this already, but if you don't, Steve Jobs is dead. He died on October 5th, 2011, with his last words being, "Oh wow." Usually famous people who die are buried in really nice graves to be remembered by others. Jobs died at his home in Palo Alto with his family at his side, but unlike other famous people, he wasn't buried in a huge grave with a memorial for him. Steve's wasn't even buried in a normal grave. His family buried him in an unmarked grave with its location still being unknown until today. I personally think Jobs chose to do this himself before his death. But honestly, I can't think of a reason why, so if you have an idea, let me know in the comments. Number 8. Steve Jobs was found to have cancer in 2003. If a doctor told you that you have cancer, what would you do? Probably listen to whatever they say and take whatever drugs they give you. Jobs did something completely different. Rather than taking the doctor-recommended path of immediate operation, he tried natural alternative healing such as becoming a vegan, acupuncture, herbal remedies, and even consulting a psychic. He resisted all medicine that me and you take. I think one of the most futuristic people of his time decided to go all guru instead of using science is pretty weird. Number 9. He was fired from Apple. This is one of the ones which completely shocked me, and it's for a pretty good reason. Imagine creating something huge, but then later on getting kicked out of it. Well, that's pretty much what happened to Steve. Jobs was fired because Pepsi executive John Skelly told the board he was far too young to be part of the Apple company. And the funny part is that this was after Jobs recruited him. Steve then started another project creating the next computer, but sales were limited because it was too expensive. That startup failed and he ended up getting hired for a job in Apple itself. Imagine going from the owner to a worker in the company. Number 10. Steve Jobs Day is a thing. I don't know why, but famous people seem to have days named after them. Sunday, October 16th was declared Steve Jobs Day by the governor of California. October 16th is a random day that has nothing to do with Steve Jobs whatsoever. There isn't exactly anything being done on that day, but it's still a cool way to respect someone that has done so much for the world today, and yet was so wrongly done. Maybe he would have been still alive if he got actual treatment for his cancer, but I guess we'll never know. Alright, quick question. Why don't you subscribe so you don't miss any videos that I release? Thinking about it, you probably should. Also tell me in the comments if you did so that I can thank you personally. If you enjoyed facts videos, there's more on my channel, so go check them out. Also, if there's anyone who you want me to make a video on, let me know in the comments. Well, that's pretty much it. I'll see you in the next video.